Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you the details of key national and international issues as well. Today, we're going to talk about the semiconductor industry in India. Now, semiconductors are essential to almost all sectors of the economy, including aerospace, automobiles, communications, clean energy, information technology and medical devices, etc. Demand for these critical components has outstripped supply, creating a global chip shortage and resulting in lost growth and jobs in the economy. The shortage has exposed vulnerabilities in the semiconductor supply chain and has thus highlighted the need for increasing domestic manufacturing capacity. India is aiming to become the global hub for semiconductor design, manufacturing and technology development. Most global semiconductor design companies have already set up design and R&D innovation centers in India owing to exceptional semiconductor design talent pool. In December 2021, the central government sanctioned approximately 76,000 crore rupees under the Production Linked Incentive (PLI) scheme to encourage the manufacturing of various semiconductor goods within India only. Today, we will discuss and analyze the opportunities and challenges for the semiconductor industry in India. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us Mr. Ajay Prakash Sahni. He is the former Secretary of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology with the Government of India. We also have with us Mr. Shubhmoy Bhattacharjee, Consulting Editor with the Business Standard. And Mr. Hari Om Rai is also joining us, Chairman and Managing Director of Lava International Limited. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sansad Television. I'll begin with you, Mr. Sahni, and we'll first start by, taking an overview of the entire situation vis-a-vis the semiconductor industry. We first need to understand where we stand in terms of semiconductor design and manufacturing as well within our country, and what's the global demand and our demand as well, and how can we bridge that gap?
Thank you for inviting me. It's very important to understand where we are coming from. Over the past few years, we have been able to build a robust electronics manufacturing ecosystem in India. And till the earlier financial year 2021, we had reached about $75 billion of manufacturing in India. About 25 to 30% of any electronics goods, as a thumb rule, is semiconductors. So about 25% we can take, about 1/4. So with that, I think as we move forward, our aim in 5 years is to reach somewhere between 250 to 300 billion dollars of manufacturing, which is doubling and doubling yet again. So you can imagine that our requirement of semiconductors itself will go to about 76, to somewhere between 60 and 75 or 80 billion. And then by 2030, we expect that our requirement of semiconductors will be about 100 billion US dollars per year. So for this, we do not really have modern fabs in the country. We have only one somewhat old fab in Mohali. And it's essential that we cover this gap in our manufacturing capability.
Okay.
We already have tremendous activity in the area of semiconductor design, chip design. Most of the topmost companies in chip design have R&D centers here in India. And we now need to have more and more designed in India chips, which are belonging to Indian companies, where the intellectual property remains Indian. The companies are Indian. And they should be able to then go on to get their chips fabricated and used in various products.
Okay.
So with this in mind, the Union Cabinet has approved this huge program, roughly of the order of $10 billion worth of incentives. And this was done on 15th of December 2021.
The PLI scheme.
And this includes incentives for setting up semiconductor fabs, for a display, one or two display fabs, for a number of compound semiconductor fabs, for ATMP or OSAT, or what are known as packaging units for semiconductors, which actually convert the wafer that comes out of the fabs into actual chips, which we see on our PCBs and in our devices.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, a significant amount of money would also be provided and incentives would be provided to design companies, to design chips in India.
Okay.
For the requirement both of India and later on even for exports.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the overall program. We from 1st of January this year to 15th of February, we invited applications from proposals from various investors that have the capability and would like to invest into setting up silicon wafer fabs in India, display fabs in India, compound semiconductors, ATMP units, and we also simultaneously invited applications for design houses or design units, Indian design units that would like to avail our incentives.
Okay, so there seems to be a lot which is happening, Mr. Sani, there on the policy front, on the incentives front as well, vis-a-vis the semiconductor industry, and what more can be done. Let's also bring in the industry perspective. Mr. Hariom Rai is with us. Mr. Rai, from the industry's point of view, if we have to understand where do we stand in terms of our need vis-a-vis the semiconductor industry and our capabilities or our capacities as of now. And from there onwards, we'll get to understand how much do we have to build upon those capabilities.
I think Mrs. Sani has given a very nice perspective of, where do we stand. So first of all, it is not about our need. Let us understand it from this perspective that India is just about 3.1% of the global GDP, which means our consumption cannot be more than that. So for just this consumption of 3.1%, the ecosystem cannot be developed in India. Therefore, and we are 18% people of the world. What we need to do to actually take our fair share from the global GDP is to make sure that we export our goods and services to the world. And to do that, we have to create an ecosystem which we have kickstarted at the top level. And step by step, because of the current geopolitical context, it is extremely valuable for India and extremely sort of, it is not only needed, but it is also sort of great opportunity for India to export to the world. And from that perspective, semiconductors being heart of the, any electronic product, I think as Mr. Sani has rightly presented, that 25% to 30% actually is what is required in any electronics. So therefore, it is critical. Now, in terms of, our current capability, it is, as compared to China, I would say we are much ahead in terms of capability of semiconductor design. But what we need to do is to harness this capability to add value to India, not just by providing services to the foreign firms, but adding value to the India by creating value within India. So for example, let's say in the chip side, there are three components. One is the component of hardware. In the hardware, the component of, the supply, the raw materials. The second component is the design, and third component is the fabrication. The design component itself is about 40 to 50% value is created from the design side. I think that no one in the world can beat us if we are able to harness this capability of Indians and allow Indian companies to build firms to beat global companies. That is the opportunity we have today. And I think from that side, from design to then step by step moving towards ATMP and then eventually move toward manufacturing the semiconductors within India. I think this is a process which we have to go through. Because to manufacture large semiconductors, the amount required is much, much large, and the time taken is also going to be large. So, for example, hundreds of billions of dollars of investments have been provisioned by the foreign countries. So we have to go step by step from design to ATMP to manufacturing.
Okay. So design is the key part out there, and seemingly we're moving ahead on that as well. Shubmoy, there seems to be a wonderful opportunity here. Of course, catering to our needs as well, and the global demand, as Mr. Rai was referring to. And the positive side, the plus side, as the Prime Minister was referring to in that conference earlier, was that India is a robust economy, a good working startup ecosystem there as well, no dearth of talent pool also. So a lot of positives here.
Well, yeah, positives certainly. I mean, nobody ever doubted that if India put its heart to it, if India really wished to, it could have taken a leg up. But in fact, I mean, I was listening very carefully to what Mr. Sani and Mr. Rai was saying, and they're absolutely spot on. But you know what's happening is that all these advantages have been with us for a long time, and it's now necessary to connect. And I think what is now becoming clear is that to develop a manufacturing ecosystem for not the state of the art, probably the next, going beyond the state of the art, design the semiconductor complex, the entire semiconductor value chain. We need a few things, of which the first thing that I would say is the good part that the Prime Minister is saying that we are going to do come what may. That is very important.
Okay.
That part is often missing in terms of how much the policy establishment will push. Because this is a race which is at the heart of not just all the terms that we use, Industry 4.0, AI, machine learning, everything. This is the holy grail. And for that, we need a very strong stability of policy. And I'm saying it that because manufacturing policies in India have often wobbled. So it's extremely important today that the Prime Minister is saying that we'll run the course of it. So that's first thing.
Okay.
Second part is essentially allowing the fiscal space for the states to create that sort of an environment. Because a semiconductor, if you look at any part of the chip, it doesn't come cheap. And it requires investment in land, in water. There are these critical infrastructural stability things, power, which we need to ensure. And for that, we need, therefore, the fiscal space. And if the fiscal space has to be there, then again, the center and the states, whichever states will get into it, have to have a very strong, tight network running.
Okay.
And again, as I said, it comes, it's like an entire policy pyramid running from the top, which will be needed to explore or even get a foothold into this extremely competitive structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are really important points which you made, Shubmoy, and Mr. Rai also referred to a few of them. Let me take them to Mr. Sani here. Mr. Sani, as the other two gentlemen are pointing out, these aspects need to be very clearly focused upon vis-a-vis the policy, vis-a-vis the fiscal space, and of course, the way we have to move ahead step by step, as Mr. Rai was referring to it. Design seemingly is one, perhaps the low-hanging fruit in this entire sequence.
Design, on one hand, is low-hanging fruit. And we have plenty of design engineers and very large teams working with the R&D centers of multinationals. A large number of, the chips, the processors that are used even in the popular phones, you'll be happy to know, get designed by these companies in India. But then they get fabricated outside. and then after fabrication, they get ATMP'd or packaged elsewhere. And then, most important of all, the revenue gets recognized in a different country. And then we end up importing the same thing and then putting it on the board and making it part of the product.
Okay.
So it's very important to have Indian design houses that design more and more chips which are required, that patent these chips in India, that recognize, that get them fabricated wherever it's possible, get them packaged wherever it's possible, including in India, and recognize the revenue in India and convert them into products in India. Then we actually get a much larger part of the value chain.
Mm-hmm.
No country in this area can be self-sufficient, including the largest manufacturers in this space.
Okay.
It is a global supply chain. We can only be more and more important part of the global supply chain.
Okay.
So I think it's very important to recognize that. And design houses, I think a lot of small design houses have already started taking shape. We have a wonderful response from design teams to our incentive policy. And even as we speak, the proposals that have come in are getting evaluated. And I would say that maybe within a week or fortnight, the first of those design houses should be getting a nod from the government to go ahead and create their designs. Designs are required in every field. Designs are required in automotive sector. Designs are required in power sector. The designs are required for use in smart meters. Designs are required in all kinds of IoT devices.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, designs that it would be, there's a tremendous opportunity. We have the capability, and we have been depending on external designs for far too long.
Okay.
So I think it's as Hariomji puts it, I think this is a low-hanging fruit, and this is something that we must, make it come alive very quickly. And the best thing is that this has a much smaller gestation period than setting up a fab and making it operational, or setting up a display fab and making it operational.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Rai, design being one part, as you pointed out, and seemingly, both Mr. Sahani and Shubhmoy also seems to be agreeing to that. But what else will be industry looking forward to from the government when we're talking about a definitive push in this particular field? Shubhmoy referred to one or two areas, fiscal space being one, the positivity on the policy side, and staying focused there as well. What else?
So before I answer your instant question, let me set the context for us, that we have missed actually the bus a long time, and consistently. We were 3.9% of the global GDP when Britishers went from India, and only 14% of the global population. Today, we are 18% of the global population, but our GDP is further down. Our contribution to the global GDP is 3.1. So we've come down when the Britishers left us. It means that whatever we have done to the country is actually, most of that is wrong, fundamentally. First, we have to recognize that. Then understand what is wrong and what needs to be corrected. It is very simple. We have 18% people. The job of the government and the CEO, I personally feel, is to make sure that the potential of our people is actually unlocked by making sure that these guys are able to, given the right skills and globally competitive skills. That is only possible by building the globally competitive companies from India. Mm-hmm. And because just by doing a very small value add, for example, most of our companies in the software, very, very small companies, as compared to the companies, in the global world, doing billions and billions and trillions of dollars of valuation and billions of dollars of, value which is being added outside, despite the whole sets are available in India. The issue what we have done is that we have completely missed this bus and understanding of building our own firms.
Okay.
And that process of building our own firms goes through by working together. Government and industry need to work together and to build the firms and globally competitive firms so that we are able to capture value within the country. I think this fundamental understanding has to be there, which is coming step by step, but a lot is needed for, government should not be shy to work with the industry very, very deeply as one, because without industry, it is impossible to harness the potential of the citizens of the country. That's the only way you can harness the potential. I think with this thought process, if we can enable the design companies and our people to learn, and the losses are funded, that during that learning cycle, then because we are only 17% per capita of the China and maybe 8 to 10% per capita of Taiwan. So once we learn the design, our output is going to be the most competitive. We just need to make sure that we have, and as compared to US, it's just 3-4%. So we'll be the most competitive in the world. Just what we need to do is to make sure that till the time the skill building happens, our companies and our children, our young people are supported by recognizing the right talent. I think that's the only thing required to build this entire country.
Okay. Shubhmoy, do you agree with that, your concluding comments there with Mr. Rai pointing out very clearly that we will have to keep in mind that the stakeholders and specifically the government and the industry will have to work together to build upon the existing capabilities and to get the benefit of this opportunity, which is right there at our doorstep?
Well, yes, certainly. I mean, the way you put it, that's exactly what we have to be doing. I, of course, also read what Mr. Hariom Rai is saying about, working with industry. Essentially, it does seem that there should be a subsidy element. And I do recognize that is an important part. The point is that whether, again, coming back to governance challenges, whether we have that space, I indicated that earlier, but it is something on which a very considered decision has to be taken, given the stakes being pointed out. So it is, as I said, a very strong some policy on which political sharpness has to be very accurate.
Okay.
We haven't done too many manufacturing success stories so far in the last 25 years. It'll be very impressive if we can pull this off.
Okay.
That's my idea.
Indeed, it is going to be impressive and it is going to be really required as well for us to go ahead and make that move there. Thank you so much, Shubhmoy, Mr. Ajay Prakash Sahni, and Mr. Hariom Rai as well for sharing your views and insight. As our expert panelists were pointing out, clearly this is the movement for India when we're talking about the semiconductor industry. Of course, it is our need as well, but there is a global demand also to which we can cater to, but that would require building upon our existing capabilities, putting robust policy mechanisms and ecosystems in place, and of course, the fiscal space for the industry to grow and the industry and government to work hand in hand. We'll keep a watch on all the developments in this sector and keep on bringing you all the details along with other topics as well. Keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.